We came into this day hopeful, wondering, pondering whether or not our Seahawks would truly dip their toes into the free agent waters when so often before they have been so hesitant. We sat and we prayed. We got a little bit sulky, I bet, if you were like me. A little bit certain in the fact that the Seahawks team wasn't going to do anything, and then they did something. Your Hawks came storming out of the gate. Hey, they came storming out a little late, but they came storming out strong nonetheless, signing Denver Bronco defensive tackle Dre'mont Jones to a 3-year, $51.5 million deal. This now being the largest free agent signing by Schneider in his entire time here, which I think is absolutely substantial. And though the money is much more this season than it was last year for Uchenna Nwosu, prices are going up everywhere. We saw at the beginning of this day that Javon Hargrave went to the 49ers at nearly $20 million per year a price. Then you saw Zach Allen of the Cardinals, very good, useful player. I would have liked to have seen our Seahawks target also get big-time money. This is now going to be the going rate for a impactful or a sub-impactful type inside defensive tackle type player. And indeed, that is what you're getting in Dre'mont Jones. He offers you a complete level of skill in that he can be an impactful guy both in the run defense and as a pass rusher. He is a guy that is still relatively young at only 26 years old. So like that Uchenna signing, echoes of a guy who's maybe still rising to his top, still getting towards where he's going to be at his prime level, not yet necessarily a finished product. So a lot to get excited about with this kid. And when you watch the tape, you see him doing a variety of things. Firstly, he is very quick off the snap. It jumps out, that quickness. And then he pairs that with really good hand-fighting ability. He's not maybe the most strongest of defensive tackles down there, but you'd maybe expect that a guy at 6'3", 280-ish. He's not going in at that 300, 310, 315 weight. But he utilizes that quickness, and oftentimes he can beat those interior guards to a spot. And when you especially combo that quickness with his ability to hand fight, it's quite problematic there for inside players is on that offensive line. He's also got a great long arm bull rush move that he can go to at times and also can be pretty useful. So there's a variety of things he's sort of able to already call upon. And as I said, still somewhat a developing guy. He has been now with the Denver Broncos for the last 4 years, and he started out really well. PFF looks at him as a guy who came in really well in his first year and did pretty good for a rookie. Next year really was lighting things up at about 74.7, and then they see him having dipped down a little bit over the last 2 years. I have a little bit of a working theory as to why this might have happened with him in his case, because one of the places that you see with PFF that really does impact defensive players is if I have a dominant defense and I have a very good player within that dominant defense, and then on the other side of them, they've got a porous offense, an offense that's going to have a lot of 3 and outs. Well, what you're going to have then is that defense holding on through the course of the game, but every defense is eventually going to wear down when the offense continues to do nothing over the course of the day. And I mean by nothing, I mean almost zero. And so you get to now the end of the third quarter and even the mighty start to fall. Even these big bad defenses start to weaken, start to get blown out, a little bit tired, and now their play starts to dip down just a little bit. I would measure to guess with especially this last season and the Denver Broncos offensive ineptitude that maybe certainly he was suffering from a little bit of that. And I wouldn't be the least bit of surprised if you were to find that the Denver Bronco defenders across the board all kind of suffered a little bit from that sluggishness of the offense on the other side of things. When you do watch the tape with him, you're seeing a high level of effort. He's not taking plays off in there on the defensive line. He's giving everything he's got. He's a good hustle player. He'll be a good rally to the ball player. And he still has some potential impactful ability. As we saw with Uchenna Nwosu last year, he was coming off of his best year with the Chargers, turning 25 years old. And then he even went above and beyond that this past season when he was finally made a full-time starter. I think indeed Dre'Mont's gotten his share of starter reps. They obviously heavily rotate down there in Denver on their defensive line because it's a solid defensive line. But nonetheless, I think there's still some more room for maybe a little bit of upside. And when it's coming to this defensive line for your Seattle Seahawks, this is about strength in numbers more than this is about finding the Aaron Donald-like star. It would be great if we could pull that off, but it's more realistic to build this up within the numbers, and that takes many bodies. And I think right now with the Seahawks moving on from Harris, they saw him as a guy that wasn't really giving them the production they might have thought they were going to get from him out of Denver last year. And now going to a guy, as they are here in Dre'mont Jones, who's a younger player, a little more on the rise, it makes sense sort of flopping one out for the other. And you're going to probably see the first-year cap hit for Dre'mont Jones not really be that much higher than the cost would have been for Harris. So in many ways for this upcoming season, you're flipping out Harris for Dre'mont Jones, which is a fair trade, especially when we're not having to give up any draft capital on the other end of this. Now, of course, this doesn't get any easier for our Seahawks because the San Francisco 49ers did bring on Hargrave from the Eagles, a fine pass rushing defensive tackle, but they spent all the money for a guy who's 30 years old. And that Niner team now still has to deal with figuring out what they're going to do with Bosa and the contract they're going to put him on. But at least Seattle was somewhat able to match them tit for tat. And we still have a lot more room here to grow. We still have the potential of bringing on board Bobby Wagner. So like you, my fellow Seahawks fans, I was impatient, wondering what was taking so long. Why was this taking so long? But at the end of the day, trust in the fact John Schneider and Coach Carroll are going to guide us in the right way here because they made the right signing here. They didn't throw the bad money out with the good. They didn't pay for an aging player. They didn't pay for past production. They're paying not only for what a guy's done, but for where he's going to go. And in Dre'Mont's case, as it was the case with Uchenna, you're still paying for some upside that yet remains. So get happy about this free agent period. I think you guys are going to like what you're going to see here. I'm not saying it's splash signing here, splash signing there, splash signing here. I'm just saying that the signings are going to be very important. They're going to stack them up in an appropriate fashion. And then when you pair it with this very deep draft for us in draft picks, I think we're going to see the fulfillment of this vision and why this defensive line is going to help to carry this defense far forward from where they were last year. My name is Brandon Kane. This is the Hawks Nest. Please hit the like button and please subscribe. But beyond all that, don't you ever forget, go Hawks.